smaller loops. So whichever cannot be further split it into smaller loops, that can be called as a mesh. So for this circuit, we are having two meshes and three loops. So the outer surface is the also a loop, but since that outer loop can be divided into this one loop and this one loop, the outer loop cannot be considered as a mesh. So based on this, we discussed about something. So in mesh analysis, what do we need to do is we have to assume the current direction for that loop, for the loops available in the circuit. Then what we need to do, we have to solve the circuit based on this assumed current direction. So if the assumed current direction is entering the resistor, we will consider it as a positive polarity, and wherever current is leaving, we will consider it as a negative polarity. We have to solve by one mesh. So for the first mesh, we have to write KVL equation. So the current is entering here, so we will be writing it as minus V1, then plus I1 into R1, plus we have to write here for this particular branch only I1 is flowing, but for this common branch through this resistor R3, we are having two currents, that is one from top to bottom and another from bottom to top. So both the current directions are different. Since both the current directions are different, we have to mention it as I1 minus I2, because only one current can flow through that circuit at a single time. So the resultant current will be flowing through that path. So in order to represent the resultant current, we have to consider I1 minus I2. So when we are considering that particular mesh, for mesh 1, we should consider that this mesh current is higher in magnitude when compared to the other magnitude. So here it is mentioned as I1 minus I2. Okay. So similarly, when we are writing for this second mesh, we have to put the, based on this assumed current direction, we have to choose the polarity for this current direction for that complete mesh. So if you start from V2, current enters the positive polarity, so it will be plus V2. Then current enters the positive polarity of this resistor R2, then we will write it as R2. Only I2 current is flowing through this path, so we can write I2. For I3, for R3, the one current is flowing from bottom to top and another current is flowing from top to bottom. So here we are talking about mesh 2. Since we are talking about mesh 2, we have to consider that current magnitude as higher. So we have to write I2 minus I1, because only this resultant current is going to flow through this path. So since the resultant current is flowing through this path and we are seeing from second mesh point of view, then you can say that I2 is having higher magnitude and I1 is having lesser magnitude. So in that case, we have to write I2 minus I1, then the whole equation will be equal to 0. Now we are having two meshes. So if we are having two meshes, we need to solve two equations in order to obtain the currents. What currents? I1 and I2. So now, so we are having two equations, then we are having two unknowns, then we can solve this equation to find I1 and I2. This is the procedure. Then based on this, we saw one problem. Let us see one more problem. Let us see two more problems, then let us proceed with the next part. Okay, so consider this circuit. In this circuit, we are having two meshes. In these two meshes, let us consider that I1 as in this direction and I2 as in this direction, that is clockwise. Then what do we need to find? We need to find I1 and we need to find I2. So here for this particular mesh, when you are writing KVL equation, the current is entering the negative polarity of this 45 voltage source, so we will be getting minus 45. Then based on the current direction, we can consider that this is a positive polarity because current will enter this terminal of this resistor, so you will get plus 2 into I1. Then if you see this resistor, that is 12 ohm resistor, we are getting two currents. One current is coming from top to bottom and another current is coming from bottom to top. This is I1 and the bottom one is I2. So here, as we know, only resultant current can flow through this path. So since we are seeing it from the mesh 1, we have to consider this current as higher magnitude. So what do we need to do? So we have to consider I1 minus I2. So 12 into I1 minus I2 is going to give the voltage. Then if you consider this resistor, current will be entering here. So we have chosen the positive polarity as here for the voltage. So 4 into I1 will give the voltage. So what we have written, we have applied the KVL for that particular mesh. Then sum of the voltages is equal to 0, that we have written here. So based on this, if we reduce it, we will be getting one equation that is coming as 18I1 minus 12I2 is equal to 45. So this is for the first mesh. Then for the second mesh, consider this circuit. In this second mesh is here. The current direction for the second mesh is like this. So as per the current direction, we have chosen the positive polarity for the voltage of all the resistors. So now for 9 ohm resistor and 3 ohm resistor, only the current I2 is flowing. So the current is going to enter the positive polarity of this 9 ohm resistor. So here it is written as plus 9I2. Then for the 30 volt source, the current is going to enter the positive polarity. So you will be getting the 30 volt here. So that is written here. Then for this 3 ohm resistor, you are going to have the current which is going to enter the positive polarity. So we will be writing 3 into I2 because only the current I2 is flowing through that part. So we are writing 3 into I2. Then for this common branch, this is the common branch. For this branch, two currents are flowing. One is I1 and the second one is I2. I1 is flowing from top to bottom and I2 is flowing from bottom to top. So only the resultant current can flow. So here I2 is considered as higher magnitude because we are seeing from mesh 2. So it is written 12 into I2 minus I1. So if you reduce this equation, we will be getting an equation that is given by minus 12 into I1 plus 24 I2 is equal to minus 30. So we are having two equations. So if you solve these two equations, we can find the current. So here I1 is equal to 2.5 and I2 is equal to 0 ampere. Okay, so this is about the mesh analysis for two meshes. Let us consider mesh analysis for three meshes. So let us consider this problem. So here it is given I naught is in this direction. I naught is in this direction. Why we are talking about I naught? I naught is going to decide the voltage magnitude of this dependent voltage source. Okay, this is I naught current direction that is going to decide the voltage across this. So this is a current controlled voltage source. Okay, so now three meshes are there. So based on the three meshes, we have assumed some current direction in the clockwise manner. So I1 is in this direction and I2 is in this direction and I3 is in this direction. Okay, so now as usual, you can consider each loop and we can write the KVL equation. If you consider the first mesh here, based on this mesh, we are going to apply KVL. So in that mesh, the current is for the 16 volt source, the current is going to enter the negative polarity. So we will be considering it as minus 16 volt. Then based on this current direction, you are going to get the positive polarity here. So you will be getting plus 4 into here in this resistor, two currents are coming. One is I1 and another one is I3. I1 is coming from left to right and I3 is coming from right to left. So here only resultant current can flow. We can say that since we are seeing it from mesh 1, we can consider that mesh 1 as a higher magnitude current. So I1 minus I3, then your current direction will be in this direction. Then for this resistor, this is a 2 ohm resistor. For this 2 ohm resistor, two currents are coming. See, for this particular mesh, one current is like this and the other current is like this for this particular 4 ohm resistor. For this 2 ohm resistor, one current is coming from top to bottom and another current is coming to bottom to top. This is a common branch. This is the common branch between which meshes? That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying two currents are there. Okay. So here for this 4 ohm resistor, this 4 ohm resistor, it is a common resistor between this mesh, that is 3, and this mesh 1. So I have taken I1 and I3. For this 2 ohm resistor, you can see that this resistor is a common between mesh 1 and mesh 2. Okay. So here for this 2 ohm resistor, I1 is going to flow from top to bottom and I2 is going to flow from bottom to top. So we are seeing from mesh 1, so that we consider it as higher magnitude. So we consider that 2 into I1 minus I2, that is equal to 0. Okay, so now you can reduce this equation, that is coming as 6I1 minus 2I2 minus 4I3 is equal to 16. Now what we can do, we can apply mesh analysis for the second loop. So here we have already assumed the current direction is like this in the clockwise manner. Okay, so if you apply KVL for this particular mesh, we can see that the current is entering the negative polarity of this this dependent voltage source. So that can be given by minus 10 into I naught. Then for this 2 ohm resistor, I1 is coming from top to bottom and I2 is coming from bottom to top. Since we are seeing it from mesh 2, we have to consider it as higher potential, so higher magnitude. So we have written it as 2 into I2 minus I1. Okay. Then for this 8 ohm resistor, this is a common branch between the mesh 3 and mesh 2. So here we have to consider I2 current as higher magnitude and I3 current as lower magnitude. So we have considered I2 minus I3 multiplied by 8 ohm. So that is going to give the voltage. So that is equal to 0. This is another equation. Now in this equation, we are having 4 currents. I naught, we know already what it is. Actually, we have assumed the current direction of this branch. So if you have assumed some current direction for this branch, I3 is going like this. That is what our assumption is. Then you can see that I naught and I3 are in the same direction. And since the currents cannot change in that loop, then the current in this particular branch cannot be different. So obviously, I naught should be equal to I3. Okay, why I am saying I naught is equal to I3 is, so this is the branch. This is the branch. We are assuming for this loop, we are assuming certain current direction. This is I3. Okay. In the question, they have mentioned that this is I naught. Okay. So if this is the current direction of I3 means the current direction of I3 is going to flow here, right? So this is I3. This is the assumed direction of us. So in the same path, different current cannot flow as per our previous discussions. So in that case, I naught will be same as I3. And the current direction is also same for both the assumed one and the question and which is given in the question. So the I3 will be equal to I naught. So I have taken I naught is equal to I3 and I have substituted here. I naught is equal to I3. So I have substituted for I naught here. So I have taken minus 10 into I3. Then you solve this, reduce this equation. If you reduce this equation, you are getting that minus 2I1 plus 10I2 minus 18I3 is equal to 0. So then you apply KVL for this third mesh. For that mesh, so we are having only resistors. So wherever current enters, we have considered as a positive polarity. So for this 6 ohm resistor, only I3 is flowing. So you can write it as 6 into I3. Then for this 8 ohm resistor, this 8 ohm resistor is a common branch between the mesh 3 and mesh 2. So in that case, 8 into I3 minus I2. So that is this mesh current and this mesh current. I3 minus I2. Then this 4 ohm resistor is a common branch between the third mesh and the first mesh. So here it is 4 into I3 minus I1 because we are considering that mesh current has higher magnitude. So we got 4 into I3 minus I1. You reduce this equation. If you reduce it, you will get one equation. Now we are having three equations. One is this and second one is this and third one is this. Now we are having three equations, three unknowns. So you just solve the equation in order to obtain the value. So if you solve it, you can find the current of I1, I2 and I3. And already we have seen that I3 is equal to I naught. So we have taken I naught is equal to minus 4. You can see here that all the current magnitudes are coming as negative. It means that we have assumed the current direction in a wrong way. So actually current is flowing in the anti-clockwise manner for these circuits. That is what it is representing. Okay, we have assumed the current direction as clockwise and we have obtained the value. So we are getting the current magnitude as negative. Okay, so no other difference. This is not a mistake because for your assumed current direction, you have got the current magnitude as negative. Okay, so it is not a problem. So this is fine. Okay, So let us see one more problem. So this is also one more problem. It is also a simple problem. Here we have to apply mesh analysis. Okay. So this, as usual, you can apply for this loop. For this loop, the current is entering the negative polarity, so you will be getting minus 10. Then you will be getting plus 4 into I1 minus plus 6 into I1 minus I2. I1 minus I2. 6 into I1 minus I2 is equal to 0. Okay, this is one equation that is given here. Now, you see the second part, second mesh. In the second mesh, we have assumed the current direction as I2 in this direction. Now, for this I2, you put the polarity for this. You are getting positive polarity here, positive negative polarity here, positive negative polarity here, positive negative polarity here. Okay, in this, you cannot apply KVL directly. Why? Because here across this current source, you do not know the voltage. Across this current source, you do not know the voltage. Actually, in mesh analysis, what we are doing, we are applying KVL in order to find the current. Why we are applying KVL? We need to find the current in the individual meshes. Since one current source is there already, in this loop, especially this I2, the current flowing through that, especially in this mesh, the current flowing through that will be 5 ampere only. Okay, in the common branch, the current will be different, but in this same branch, like, well, if you see the 3 ohm resistor, the current flowing through that will be 5 ampere. Similarly, the current entering here will be 5 ampere. Okay, so let us draw it. The only difference in this circuit is here we cannot apply KVL. Why? Because we are having a current source here. If we are having a current source here, it is not possible for us to find the voltage across this, because we should know the voltage across this terminal, then only we can find the voltage across this current source. So you cannot directly apply KVL here first. Then the second thing is the current through this 3 ohm resistor will be 5 ampere, and the current in this path, it will also be 5 ampere. The current through this 6 ohm resistor will be the resultant of I1 and 5 ampere, but for this 3 ohm resistor and this one will be 5 ampere because these two are in series. Now for I2, for I2 we have assumed that the current direction is like that, but in this path the current flowing through that will be 5 ampere only. Magnitude is 5 ampere, but the assumed current direction and the actual current direction of the current source are different, so you consider that I2 as minus 5 ampere. Okay, so once you substitute I is equal to minus 5 ampere, you can directly substitute in this equation and you can find the value easily. Okay, so here, since there is a current source, you should be very cautious how to solve that circuit. Is it fine? Do you have any doubt in this? If you have any doubt, you can ask, else let us proceed further. Okay, already we have seen the comparison when you need to use nodal analysis and when you need to use mesh analysis. This part, this final point, you don't bother about it. The nodal analysis is applicable for both planar and non-planar circuits, whereas the mesh analysis is applicable only to planar circuits. You don't bother about it. Just know that this is applicable for planar and non-planar circuits, and this is applicable only to the planar circuits. Okay, so if it is fine, let us proceed further. If you have any doubt in this, you ask, else let me proceed further. Okay, fine. So let me proceed further. We have come to the final topic of this first unit. Already I have taken nearly 11 classes, including today. So this is the final topic, that is the circuit theorems in the first unit. Okay, the circuit theorems, here basically we are going to see 4 theorems. In circuit theorem, we are basically going to see four theorems. Many theorems are there, but only these four theorems we are going to see for our subject in this. And in the next semester, you are having one paper named as Networks and Systems. In that, you will be reading another four theorems. Okay. So here, first, why do we need circuit theorems? Already we have talked about KCL, KVL. Then we talked about mesh analysis and nodal analysis. Why did we see this? We saw those circuits in order to analyze any electrical circuit. We saw this in order to analyze any electrical circuit, right? So now, what are the drawbacks in Kirchhoff's law? So what are the advantages in Kirchhoff's law? In Kirchhoff's law, we did not modify any circuit elements. We just find the current and voltage. Wherever we required, we just find the current and voltage very clearly, right? Then what is the drawback of the Kirchhoff's law? So if the circuit is large and complex, there it is going to be a laborious work, and where the computation is very much complex and it is a time consuming process. Okay, actually in a practical system, it is a very complex in nature. Okay, so in order to have or in order to solve such complex networks, it is better to go for theorems in order to simplify the analysis. Okay, we are having certain theorems. This theorem, it's again like a somewhat time consuming process, but there are different advantages for this. These three are having wide applications. These three are having wide applications in many real time things. For example, in a power plant where you are generating the power, where generally they will be representing that as a voltage source connected with a resistor. We have discussed about a practical source, right? So practical voltage source, right? The Thevenin theorem will be used to model the power generation plant. Okay, that is given in this way. Generally, there are power generation based on coal, nuclear. Those can be represented like voltage source, which is connected as a source, voltage source connected with a resistor. The complete power generating station can be represented like this. Similarly, Norton theorem is like another way of representation of Thevenin theorem. In Norton theorem, you can represent that as a current source with a resistor in parallel. So we have already discussed about the current source, practical current source. This will be looking like that. There are some power generating things which can generate power based on this fashion. So example, solar power plant. That solar power plant can be represented in this fashion. And this theorem is the maximum power transfer theorem. This theorem is very much essential for communication perspective. For communication perspective, especially for ECE students, this is very much important. Okay, we will see one by one later. So when the system is becoming more complex, each of these theorems will be helpful for us at some point of time. Okay, so let us see each theorem. The first theorem is superposition theorem. The superposition theorem says that suppose if you are having n number of sources in your circuit. Okay, so here you are having one source and here you are having one source for this circuit. Here, let's say that if you want to find the current I3. Okay, what they are saying in superposition theorem is this I3 is going to be the combination of the current provided to this I3 by this voltage source 1. Okay, IV voltage source 1 plus the current provided by the voltage source 2. Means that this voltage source is going to provide some current through this path, and this voltage source is going to provide some current through this path. Now, the resultant current, that is the I3, is going to be the summation of the individual currents provided by the individual sources. Okay, so here you are having two sources. So each source will supply some current to this current I3, means each source will contribute some current for this I3. So this I3 will be given by the resultant of I1 and I2. So what is the contribution of this voltage source, that is I1, and what is the current contribution of this source, that is I2. So if you add this, that will give the overall current, that is I3. Okay, so if you have obtained you can obtain the same using mesh analysis or nodal analysis. That is also one possible. This is also a theorem which give a systematic procedure to find the resultant current when you are having n number of sources. Okay, but this can be a time consuming process when compared to mesh analysis and nodal analysis. But here we are going to reduce the circuit, we are going to do circuit reduction here, or we are going to use circuit reduction, or what we can do is we can apply current division, voltage division, everything we can use in order to find the current or voltage whichever is required. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are having n number of sources, we are going to remove one source and we are going to consider only one source at a time. Let's say that I'm having a source, that is V1. Then what is the contribution of this source to this I3, that I'm going to find it out. At that time, I have to remove this voltage source. I have to make this voltage source as 0 volt. Okay. Then I have to find the contribution of this V1 for this I3. Then for that is a step 1. For step 2, what should I do is I should consider the second source. That time I should consider this first source as 0 volt. Then what is the contribution of this source for this current, that is I3, that I have to find. Then after I find this contribution of this second voltage source, then I can add the contribution of individual sources in order to find I3. I need to find I3. What is the contribution of the voltage source V1 for this current, and what is the contribution of the voltage source V2, that I'm going to find it out individually. Then this can be given by IV1 divided plus IV2. So this is the current contribution by the voltage source 1. This is the current contribution by the voltage source 2. So we will add it and we will say that that is the current that is going to flow through this resistor R3. Okay. So now let us go through the procedure so that you can understand. So as per this definition says, if a circuit has two or more independent sources, so here this is one independent source and here second independent source. One way to find the voltage across any element or current through any element is by using mesh or nodal analysis that we have already seen. Okay, so the another way is to determine the contribution of each independent source to the variable and then add them up. The later approach is known as superposition. Means this approach is known as superposition theorem. When we are talking about KCL and KVL, it is very easy to solve the circuit if we have single independent source. If you are having multiple independent source, it is not possible for us to solve using KVL and KCL easily. Okay, in that case, we have to go for other part, that is mesh and nodal. So mesh and nodal is one way of application to find the voltage or current through any particular element. Now we are going to apply superposition theorem without going for mesh and nodal analysis. We are going to use circuit reduction in order to find the current or voltage division for finding the voltage or current through any particular element or across any particular element. Okay, so here this is the proper definition. The superposition principle states that voltage across or current through any element in a linear circuit, you note down this thing, in any linear circuit is the algebraic sum of voltages across or the currents through that particular element due to the each independent source acting along. Means that, as I said before, the individual source contribution we are going to find it out, and the resultant current through that particular branch or the resultant voltage through across any element can be the addition of two individual responses that is given here. Okay, so you consider this kind of thing is applicable only to the linear circuit. Okay, linear circuit, we will discuss about that later, but you just keep it in mind that this is applicable only to linear circuits. Okay, So let us proceed. Here, the procedures are given here in detail. We will go to that circuit and we will give the explanation so that you can understand. So here, what we need to do is, let's say that I want to find the current through this resistor, that let's say this is I. So the very first step, you need to find the current, that is I. So this I can be contributed by this voltage source and can be contributed by this current source also. So the current through this resistor is summation of this I1 and I2. Or when you are having multiple sources, the resultant will be the algebraic sum of the individual contribution. Okay. So the very first step is to consider only one source at a time. So means that we want to solve this circuit by superposition theorem. So here you are having two sources. First, you have to consider only one source at a time and find the contribution of the other source for this. Let's say this is I1 dash. Let's say that this is I1. No, we'll consider it as I dash. Okay, we'll consider it as I dash. The current flowing through this as I dash. Okay, so now you can see here that I have made this voltage as 0. Okay, see, if I have a voltage source, in case if I want to make this voltage as 0, what should I do? Actually, the voltage across any element can be 0 only if the two terminals are short circuited. Let's say that this is A and this is B. I wanted to make the voltage across this element as 0. If I want to make this voltage across this element as 0, you can consider that it should be shorted. That is one way of saying. The other way of saying is you replace the sources with its internal resistance. You replace the source with its internal resistance. When we talked about ideal independent voltage source, we said that the internal resistance of the ideal independent voltage source is 0 ohm. So what we are doing here in the superposition theorem is we are going to replace this voltage source with its internal resistance. The internal resistance of the ideal independent voltage source is 0 ohm. So that can be mentioned as a short circuit. Okay. So you can represent it in two ways. Either you can mention that we want to make the internal resistance as 0. I mean, we wanted to replace the ideal independent voltage source with its internal resistance. The internal resistance for the ideal independent voltage source is 0 ohm. So we have short circuited it. That you can say in one way. In another way, you can say that we wanted to make this voltage as 0. If you want to make this voltage as 0, you can short circuit. You should short circuit it. That's what we have done here. Okay, we are having two sources. First, we are considering this current source, and so that we have to turn off this voltage source, or we have to make the voltage source value as 0. So we have short circuited it. So once you have short circuited it, then what we need to do, you find the current, that is I dash. How you can find the current? So here it is a current source. One current is coming inside and it is going to divide it into two, right? When it is dividing into two, you can apply current division formula. How I can apply current division formula? If this is the total current flowing, then let's say this is R1 and this is R2. So the current I dash is equal to total current into opposite resistor, that is R1 is the other resistor or opposite resistor, divided by sum of the resistors. By this way, I can obtain the current provided to this resistor, that is I1. Okay, so now this is for the first part. What we did, we suppressed the source 1 and we have found the contribution of the current source for this resistor. Now what we need to do, we need to this is for the step 1. For step 2, we should consider the other source, and we should suppress this current source. Means first we had considered this current source and suppressed this voltage source. In the second point, we have to use this voltage source and we have to suppress this current source. In superposition theorem, we have to consider only one source at a time and we have to see its individual contribution. That's what we are doing. If you want to see that particular source contribution, you have to suppress the remaining sources which is available in the circuit, or you can otherwise say that you have to turn off the other sources which are available in the system. So when you are considering about this voltage source, remaining whatever the sources it may be, you should suppress it by replacing with its own resistance or internal resistance. So for the second case, or for the step 2, you have to consider the voltage source, then you have to suppress the current source, or you can say that you should make the current source magnitude as 0. So if you want to make that current as 0, then obviously you have to open circuit it. That is one way of saying. If you want to make the current as 0, you have to do the open circuit. If you want to make the voltage as 0, you have to short circuit it. So here we want to make this current source magnitude as 0. We have made it as open circuit. In another way, you can say that we have to make that internal resistance, we have to replace the current source with its internal resistance. The current source internal resistance is infinite. For ideal independent current source, we discussed that the internal resistance of the ideal independent current source is infinite. So what we are doing, we are replacing this current source with this internal resistance. The internal resistance of the ideal independent current source is infinite. So we have represented as a open circuit here. Okay. So for voltage source, its internal resistance is 0. So we have short circuited it. For current source, its internal resistance is infinite. So we have open circuited it. Okay. So now that's what we have done. Now what we need to do, we have to find the current flowing through this path. Let's say this is I double dash. Okay. This is I dash and this is I double dash. So what is the current flowing through this? You can apply KVL here. If you apply KVL here, you can obtain the current flowing through this path, right? Because you just apply KVL here. So if 10 volt is here, this is R1 and this is R2. The current flowing through this R2 is 10 divided by R1 plus R2. It will give one current. So what is that? That is nothing but I double dash. Now we need the total current. I is equal to I dash plus I double dash. Is that clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay, fine. See, you remember one more point here. Whenever we are talking about independent sources, in this particular circuit, only independent sources should be replaced with its internal resistance. If you are having a dependent sources, then you should not replace. If you are having independent resistance, independent voltage source or current source, then you have to replace it. If it is a voltage source, you should short circuited it. That is the internal resistance, that is 0. For current source, you have to open circuited it because its internal resistance is infinite, so we have to open circuit it. Now that is applicable only for the independent source. If you are having a dependent source, you should not suppress it. You should not make that magnitude as 0. Okay. So open circuit means current will not flow. Short circuit means voltage will be 0. Open circuit means current will be 0. Okay. So let me explain the procedure now in these words. So in a circuit having more than one source, consider only one source at a time. So as I discussed before, if you are having a circuit like this, you just consider only one source at a time when you are having multiple sources in the circuit, right? So dependent sources should be remain in the circuit. This is very, very important. Dependent sources should be remain in the circuit. You should not replace with the internal resistance. Whereas if you are having independent source, you have to consider only one source at a time. Then the rest of the sources should be suppressed. So voltage sources should be short circuited and the current sources should be open circuited. So for time being, if you are, let's say that you are having a current source here, current source also here. So for this case, you have to replace this voltage source with the short circuit and the current source with open circuit. We have to replace the current source with the open circuit when you are considering this voltage source. So that time you have to find the current contribution by this voltage source for through this particular branch. Now this is the first step. The second step is to consider the second source, then you replace the other sources with its internal resistance. Then using mesh or nodal or circuit reduction, you find the current whichever is required to pass through that particular path. Then once you find the individual contribution of all the sources, you add it up in order to find the overall contribution of all the sources to that particular element. It can be a current or it can be a voltage. So the overall contribution can be given by some of the individual some of the individual source contribution. Okay, so here the advantage of superposition theorem is it is going to help to reduce the complex circuit, especially when you are having multiple sources. It is not possible for us to detect the current or voltage using KVL and KCL directly unless we know the analysis properly. So this superposition will help to reduce the circuit, or it helps to reduce the voltage or current easily, because we are going to consider only one source at a time. Then the disadvantage is it involves more work. Like our previous cases, it takes long time to solve the circuit. And if you are having five sources in a circuit, it need 5 times to reduce the circuit. Okay, if you are having 5 sources in the circuit, you need to find, or you have to use, or you have to reduce the circuit for 5 times in order to find the current or the voltage across any particular element. So if the number of sources are increasing, then this will become more time consuming process. Okay, and one other point you keep it in mind, superposition always deal with linear components, linear elements, or suppose voltage or current for DC circuits are linear elements, because the voltage can be given by I into R and the current can be given by V divided by I. So in that case, both are linear relations. So voltage and current you can find directly using the superposition theorem. Whereas if you are having a power, if you are having power you cannot find it out using superposition theorem, because for power you have to use this expression, that is I square R. I square is not a linear expression. So since I square is not a linear expression, the power cannot be directly find it out using the superposition theorem, because this is not a linear relation anymore. The relation between power and current are not linear, because you are having I square. So since it is not a linear relation, you cannot find power directly using I square or using the superposition theorem. So here to make it, I repeat again, superposition theorem, it's applicable only to linear element or linear calculations only you can able to do in the superposition theorem. Linear in the sense, let's say that you are having a voltage. If you are applying voltage and you are getting some current, if you are plotting that voltage and that current, then that characteristic should be passing through the origin. Okay, this is the linear characteristics. Okay, if you take slope at any point of that particular characteristics, you will be getting the same slope throughout that characteristics. One thing you should understand, this is the linear characteristics in electrical point of view. Okay, here when the source is zero, your response should be zero. Let's say that you are having a resistor. If I apply 10 volt across this, let's say if it is a 1 ohm resistor, I will be getting 10 ampere. If I apply 2 volt, I will be getting 2 ampere flowing through this path. If I apply 1 volt, I will be getting 1 ampere flowing through this path. If I apply minus 2 volt, then in the same current direction, I will be getting minus 2 ampere, right? So V is minus 2 volt, and my resistance is 1 ohm. So minus 2 divided by 1, I will be getting minus 1 ohm, minus 1 ampere. One thing is, if you apply 0 volt, the current should be 0. So if you need to follow this relation, then obviously it should pass through the origin. Let's say you are having a straight line equation, y is equal to mx plus c. From mathematical perspective, you can say that this is a linear equation. You will say that this is a linear equation because this equation you can plot like this: y is equal to mx plus c. Let's say that you are having an offset, so this line will be linear throughout it. The slope is same. I agree. Here for this characteristics, let's say this is v and I, then this is a linear line. Accept to this. When you are talking about electrical system point of view, this is not considered as a linear. Why? Because when the source is zero, here the source is voltage, means when the excitation you can call, when the input, that is voltage, when the input is zero, then your output should also be zero. Here, if you see here, the voltage is zero at this point, but you are having a current here. This is not a linear characteristics in electrical perspective. Even though the line is straight, it is going to give a linear value throughout the region. This is not considered as a linear characteristics in electrical perspective. When the input is zero, the output should also be zero. When the input is increasing, the output should be increasing. When the input is decreasing, the output should also decrease. Okay. Similarly, when the input is increasing, then your output also should increase. Similarly, when the input is decreasing, your output should also be decreasing. And the third thing is, when the input is zero, that is equal to when the input is zero, then your output should also be zero. This is very much essential to consider that as a linear element in electrical system. Okay, so I hope that you would have understood this. So let us see a simple problem before we wind up the class for today. Consider this circuit. In this circuit, we need to find the voltage across this 4 ohm resistor. That's what we need to find. So we have to apply superposition theorem to find the voltage across this 4 ohm resistor. So what should we do? As per our previous discussion, the first step is to consider only one source at a time. So you consider this voltage source for the first time, then you suppress the remaining sources which are available in that particular circuit. So what you do for the first step, you consider the voltage source only, then you suppress the current source. How we can suppress the current source? The current source should be replaced by its internal resistance. Internal resistance is infinite, so we have open circuited it, or we have to make the current value as zero through that path. So we had made it as a open circuit. Now what do we need to do? We need to find the voltage V1 across this resistor, that is the contribution of this 6 volt source on this 4 ohm resistor. So now you can apply KVL to find the current, then you can find the voltage, or you can directly apply voltage division rule because it is a series circuit. Since it is a series circuit, no current will flow through this path because it is an open circuit. So this 6 volt, this 8 ohm, and this 4 ohm resistor are in series. So this is a series circuit. So you can apply voltage division rule. For voltage division rule, we need to find voltage, that is V1 for this circuit, that is voltage across the 4 ohm resistor. For voltage division, we have to multiply with the overall voltage into across which element you are going to find the voltage. Here we want to find the voltage across the 4 volt source, so we are multiplying with the divided by the overall resistances 8 plus 4, summation of overall resistances, that is 8 plus 4. This V is the overall voltage. The overall voltage is 6 here, so 6 into 4 divided by 12, so you will be getting 2 volt. This is based on the voltage source 1. Now if you want to find then the second step is to suppress the another source. This is the another source, that is the voltage source. We have to suppress it. We have to replace it with its internal resistance, so we have short circuited it. Now we have applied the current source here. So if you apply the current source here, we need to find the current through this in order to find the voltage across this 4 ohm resistor. let's say that this is voltage, that is V2. So again, you can apply the current division formula in order to find the individual current through this individual elements. So if you apply current division formula, so for this 4 ohm resistor, the current flowing through this can be written as I2 is equal to total current into opposite resistor. Here the opposite resistor is 8 ohm divided by sum of the resistor 4 plus 8. So here total current is 3 ampere. So 3 into 4 divided by 4 plus 8, that is given by 2 ampere. So we have found I2, then we can obviously find V2. V2 can be given by R into I2. So this is 4 ohm resistor into 2 ampere, that is given by 8 volt. So we have found the voltage contribution provided by individual sources V1 and V2. This is the voltage contribution by the 6 volt source, and this is the voltage contribution by the 3 ampere source. So the overall voltage across this 4 ohm resistor is V can be given by V1 plus V2, that is nothing but 2 plus 8, that is nothing but 10 volt. Okay, what we did, we found the individual contribution, then we have obtained the overall contribution. The overall contribution is 10 volt, and it is just mere the addition of the individual components. So similarly, you can find the current also through this. So here we want to find the current. Let's say that the current contribution by the 6 volt source is I1, and the current contribution by this 3 ampere sources I2. Okay, then you find the current contribution by the individual sources. So here you can apply KVL. So if you apply KVL, 6 divided by 12, you'll be getting 0.5 ampere. Okay, so you can directly find also I is equal to V divided by R. So V is 6 volt, and the total resistance is 8 plus 4, so you'll be getting 12 ohm. So here we can find the current contribution of the 6 volt source, so that is coming as 0.5 ampere. Then what is the current contribution by this 3 ampere source? So here this circuit is similar to this circuit. So okay, so we can easily find the current like current division formula, like how it is given here. So that current is coming as 2 ampere. So this current is coming as 2 ampere, and this is 0.5 ampere. This is the current contribution of the voltage source, and this is the current contribution of the current source. You just add the both the things, you will be getting the overall current passing through that particular element. Okay, even if you have applied nodal analysis or mesh analysis, obviously you can find the same thing, maybe in a very easier manner. I mean, not in the easier manner, maybe we do not need to do that much time consuming thing. Okay, same thing you can do in mesh analysis or nodal analysis. This is a procedure. Those who are very much comfortable in circuit reduction, they can go for it instead of mesh analysis if they are feeling those are complicated. But the thing is, here this is going to be a time consuming process, but mesh and nodal analysis will give you the result very easily, or in a very simple manner and in a very less time consuming manner. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can ask, else we can end this meeting. That's all from my side for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask, else you can leave the meeting. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So thank you all. If you have any doubt, you clarify this